Welcome to the GCS podcast. This episode, we are talking to Australian weightlifter Damon Kelly. Damon is a two-time Olympian and a gold, silver and bronze Commonwealth Games medalist. We spoke to him about the sport of weightlifting, his training and his schedule, and some tips for CrossFitters who enjoy their weightlifting. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Damon Kelly, thank you for coming and being a guest on the GCS podcast. It's great to be here in Queensland and in your home gym, Cougars.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me, yeah.
No problem. So last time I saw you was in Fiji at Olympic trials. What have you been up to since then? It's been quite a few months now.
Yeah, well, I came back. Obviously, I just missed out on going to Rio, so I think I had a week off, and then I came back and kind of eased back into it, just doing a few sessions a week, and I wanted to try and keep training, not have an extended break, so I'm getting old, and if I have a long break, I won't be coming back, so I did that, a couple of easy weeks, and then I wanted to try and do a bit of a strength cycle after that, but I had a sore back, so it was actually sore a few weeks before Fiji, so then I thought I'd take the time and try and get that right, and probably took about a month. So during that month, I could do half squats and nothing from the floor and powers, so it's a bit interesting in the training. So I guess I lost a bit of strength, and by the time that was better, started squatting again, my knees were sore. So that took an extra couple of weeks. But then now, that probably took about 6 or 8 weeks to get through all that, and then been back training, full training about 5 now. So building up for the Commonwealth Championships in October.
Yeah, awesome. And did you just competed at the National Championships, which was here in Brisbane?
Yeah.
And how did that go for you?
Yeah, I was pretty happy. So I got 160, 200, and I got 60 out of 6. So I was pretty surprised with that kind of weight. As it probably at that stage, I'd only be back 2 weeks training, and then I was involved with the setting up as well. So lumping all the weights from Cougars here up to the gym and the platforms, and so it was a pretty big couple of days, and then. Also with, I do school visits for Queensland weightlifting, and because it was the last 2 weeks of term, that's when all the teachers want you to come out and present to the kids. So it was a pretty full-on 2 weeks, and so I hadn't managed a decent week of training, so I was pretty happy to get those kind of weights, and I felt pretty comfortable.
Yeah, that's impressive. I mean, I think actually it was you who said, I can't remember where I heard it, but I'm sure it was you who said it, there's no off-season in weightlifting. And you've had such an extensive career and a long career. How do you manage to keep coming back for these competitions and organising your life around them and getting over the injuries? As you said, you had a sore back and then sore knees, but then we have Commonwealth Championships in October. So how do you just keep yourself going and for years? I
just do. I guess it's just don't know anything else now. So I've been lifting for 18 years now. But I guess I enjoy it, so that's the reason why I kept going at the start. And then what helps, I guess, at the moment is obviously the Gold Coast Commonwealth Games. So that's always been a big carrot to go for. I think when they announced it, 2011, that they were going to host it. So at the moment, that's a really big carrot for me. So trying to just think about that goal, and that kind of helps me get through at the moment with little niggles and that kind of thing, and knowing that if I am to make the team and I want to win a medal and hopefully a gold one, or should be a gold one, but there is a lot of competition out in the Commonwealth in the super heavyweights, so it's pretty high standard the last 2 games, and now there's a handful of young kids doing some decent weights in the super heavyweight, so I know that I really don't have time to just sit back and make the team. I want to make the team and win. So that's probably the big motivation at the moment to keep pushing through. And as I said earlier, that if I stop now, I'm going to stop forever, pretty much. So over the last four years, I've had a couple of decent breaks, probably a month or 2, when I've had my sons, or my wife had my sons, so I had a bit of time off when they were born, and then I just found it extremely hard getting back into training then. So that's why I wanted to keep pushing through, and then even if it just reduced training down to 3 sessions a week and even the load, it's got to keep moving.
Awesome.
Damon, can we take it back a bit? Can you talk about how your training looked when you first got into the sport? And what did you come into weightlifting straight away, or did you play another sport beforehand?
I was fortunate enough that a weightlifting club started at my school. So I started when I was in year 10, so I would have been 14, turning 15. And at that, I played all the sports at school. So I did cricket, rugby league, rugby union, Aussie rules, athletics.
And you're a halfback?
Yeah, halfback, 5'8". Always a prop. So, then I was fortunate enough that Mike Power, he started the club at the school. So he was a former lifter here in Queensland, and he had sons at the school, and I think he wanted to start coaching his sons and his friends, and asked the school to buy some bars and bumpers, and they said yeah, and so he just offered it to anyone that wanted to give it a go.
That's awesome. So how is it, you're saying you got introduced to it at school. What about when you go to schools now? Do you get pushback from some of the teachers, like, oh, kids shouldn't lift weights and all that? Like, how's that received?
Yeah, still a lot of that. But I'm finding with the younger generation of teachers coming through, they're a bit more open.
Yeah.
So what I've found difficult, so I've been doing that role for about 4 years now, I think, just under 4 years with Queensland Weightlifting. The hardest part is trying to get contact with the teachers and get a response back. There's always, the kids always love doing the presentations and the teachers enjoy it, but it's just trying to get that contact and organising the time.
Yeah.
And you will get some, as I said, bit of kickback saying, oh, it's weightlifting, it's going to, there's some teachers just don't want to touch it at all.
Yeah.
I even had I called up at all-girls school saying I wanted to do some weightlifting presentations, and the receptionist said, oh, this is an all-girls school. So I'm like, yeah, I know. I called up. So there's still that bit of, I guess, stigma and the stereotype of weightlifting, but definitely now it's with the younger generation teachers coming through, they might have done either a bit of CrossFit or a bit of training themselves. So they're probably a bit more open to it, as well as a lot of schools are getting strength and conditioning staff in and even getting gyms. So that's a good way into getting into a school as well. So most S&C staff are keen to learn to lift because they understand the big benefits of them, and most of them, not most of them, they understand there's a bit of expertise into it. So that's a way for me to get into schools as well.
So how do you present the lifts to them? Like, so how long do you go into a school for, and how do you break down the sport of lifting for these kids? So
it depends on offer. I guess I do whatever they want me to do. So it's pretty desperate in weightlifting. So I got a general presentation I do. So I got a bit of a PowerPoint, just photos and videos showing what the sport is and different lifters and that kind of thing, so they can kind of see what it is. And then I'll teach the kids basically some lifts with a broomstick as a big group, like a power clean from knee, overhead squat, power snatch from knee, pretty basic stuff.
Yeah.
And then with that one, I'll break them into smaller groups and then assess them on those. And the better kids I'll mark down and we'll send them an offer for free training.
Yeah.
Try and invite them to the clubs. So I guess, and then at the end of that one as well, I'll bring a 15 kilo bar and some of the big 2.5s and 5s, so they can have a go doing like a 20 or 25 kilo power clean.
And it looks cool too.
Yeah. So they're pretty scared just seeing the bar until they come up and pick it up and realise it's pretty light.
Yeah.
So that they enjoy that part of it, having a go as well. And so that's that type of presentation. Or other ones I do now that I was going to say before, like a lot of schools are doing a certificate 3 or even 4 in fitness. Yeah. So that's another way to get in. So most of the teachers are keen to even come in and just teach a couple of lifts. So I've done a couple this year where I've just gone in and spend a lesson teaching like a power clean from knee and a back squat and like a deadlift. So it's kind of something a little bit more complicated than they would normally do in the certificate stuff, and just having someone else come in and instruct it. So I kind of see those ones as like a bit of an ad campaign of weightlifting. So they can come out and show what it is and tell them that what a great sport it is, and try and get them to come down. Or as well, there's any schools that have the strength and conditioning, I'll come in and say I'll take whatever squad they have and run through what they want to learn. So
have you ever had any pushback or technique differences between yourself and the school's S&C coach? Has he ever told you a few tips?
No, it's not too bad. No, they're all pretty good. So I think the ones that would do that wouldn't want me in. But most of the ones that welcome me in, they're keen to learn. Yeah. And even just saying that is what they say. That they're pretty glad that they get confirmation of kind of their cues and how they teach it, similar to how I would teach it.
Yeah.
But no, it hasn't been too bad. Sometimes the kids give me a bit of technical advice, but it's not too bad. But most of the ones, as said, come in, they're pretty welcoming and keen to work with me.
Yeah, it's great.
Do you think there's potential for kind of like a school sport, like say in weightlifting? I know like Palm Beach Crumman, they have like their specialty, like rugby league, they've got surfing, things like that. Do you think there's potential for that to have in some of the sporting schools around Queensland?
Yeah, definitely. I think so. So it's in terms of like facilities and equipment, it's a pretty easy sport.
Yeah.
Like if you got, I've seen some schools, it's just a shed with a couple of platforms and the bars, and that's going to last you 10 years. So in terms of cost and I guess setting it up is easy, but then the tricky part of weightlifting is probably the coaching side of it. So trying to train up either the teachers or getting a coach in to help run it. But I think there definitely is potential there to have, because a lot of sporting schools now are out there. Even not sporting schools, there'll be schools of excellence for a certain couple of sports. So I think it's like, I think Cavendish Road is one, and I think there's rugby league and soccer. So there'll be a few schools out there like that.
Yeah.
But definitely it'd be a great opportunity.
Something post weightlifting you think you kind of want to get into and maybe direct and run and try and get it?
Yeah. So I've always tried to help out at my school with the weightlifting. So I think that's how I got started. So through the efforts of a volunteer coming in. So I've always tried to go back and help get a few lifters from there. And that's St. Lawrence, and they're getting a new gym, which is good. The first time I've had a gym other than a spare room. And, so that'll be built, I think, ready for next year. So hopefully we can get a few more boys in there. And I've had a couple of teachers over the last few years. I've helped with, they've done their coaching courses, and they're pretty keen to try something a bit different as well. So some of them want something different other than your normal co-curricular sports. So your cricket, your footy, and all that type of stuff. So
do you think it'll grow the talent pool in Australia? Yeah,
I think just the simple thing is the more people get doing it, is hopefully the more talented kids we get in.
Yeah, 100%.
So as I say, got to have the big triangle at the base and to get the high point at the top. So with weightlifting, it's still a small sport, but I think it's definitely getting bigger, especially with CrossFit, and getting a lot more, I guess, more adults in doing it, and had a few successful ones that cross over. But for us, it's always any sport as well. You want to have more kids doing it. So,
100%.
And if you can see that, I think what CrossFit's done really well is like put it out there. So much better than what we kind of always tucked away, like in a small gym. So a lot more people know what the movements are. They've seen it and know it's not the big scary sport that most people think it is. So it's definitely out there a little bit more. So I think over the next probably, I guess, generation or so, where the people that have been exposed to it, they've either going to have kids themselves or nieces or nephews or even little brothers and sisters, know that it's an opportunity for them to give it a go.
I agree with that. Like back when, in my generation, you played a ball sport or you went into golf or tennis, and outside of that, that was the end of it. You couldn't pursue it for like a further sporting career. But everyone, like we were in a sporting school, so everyone lifted weights for their particular, like whether it was basketball or athletics or football or rugby. Everyone lifted weights, and there was a lot of guys that were just strong as oxes, but they weren't coordinated enough to play footy or didn't have that. They were coordinated, but didn't have that skill set. And I agree with you. CrossFit's sort of shown people that you don't have to be ball sport talented to be talented. Like there's another avenue. And and just like you're saying, it shows that weightlifting is not scary. You can do it, and you're not going to break your back, and you're not going to stunt your growth. Doesn't say much for me because I lifted weights earlier. But there's potential. Especially in Queensland. Queensland seems to have sporting champions everywhere in all sports. Obviously, the Queensland government is doing something right, or you guys are bored, so you take up sports pretty early.
You guys are pretty spread out. But the government's always been pretty good with the sport and rec, I guess, in terms of budget and participation programs as well. So over the last few years, they've introduced coupons that you can apply for, and I guess certain sporting clubs and associations have to register. So if you qualify to get a coupon, then you can use that to, I guess, try the sport for free as well. So it's it helps with, I guess, the lower socioeconomic kids that where that barrier of cost might be stop them or prevent them from doing sport. So that's where that's come in over the last probably, I think, the 2 state governments ago. And there's always, I'm not sure, obviously I've been involved in only being in Queensland, but there's always grants and applications you can apply for incorporated association clubs. So I know at Cougars we've had a few over the years, which has really helped get up to like $10,000 at a time.
That's epic.
So it's helped. We got one, I think from memory, probably had 2 in the last 10 years. So that really helps with, we bought a bunch of bars and weights. And
that's massive. That's awesome.
That kind of thing. So, yeah. So those grants and stuff help. And I think that's why, there's probably a lot of big sporting clubs around in Queensland.
Yeah. Yeah, we might have to make the move.
And with the 2018 Commonwealth Games coming up as well, so you're obviously going for gold there. I mean, that's a great platform to try and boost the sport in our country as well. I mean, seeing our Australian team hopefully nab some medals there and yourself being one of them. What would you like to see come of having the 2018 Games here and like for weightlifting itself?
Well, hopefully we get the equipment.
Yeah,
so I think it's part of the legacy is what the organising committee pushed for is the legacy of the games. So for weightlifting, we've always generally in terms of the other games it's never had like a new venue or anything built like that, but it's generally the equipment that we can get back, and it's that equipment that can help the clubs get a few more bars and bumpers, and even potentially, I guess with this one is that we could get a brand new competition platform and decent warm-up platforms and stuff. So hopefully the government can pass that on, hopefully to the Queensland Weightlifting Association, but we'll see what the budgets and for the games and do. Because I know because we had the 2001 Goodwill Games here in Brisbane. I think it was the last one, and we're still using equipment from that we got. So we got a few sets of Alico competition discs and bars, and I think we use them for our Queensland QWA events, and then I think the excess stuff we spread around to the clubs at the time. So there'd be a few here at Cougars, a couple at Toowoomba and Sunshine Coast, and they might have got a bar and some bumpers. So hopefully we can do the same after the Gold Coast, as well as just hopefully it's just a good event, and we get big crowds and good coverage, and as I said, hopefully a few Aussies can get some medals, and that's the best way we're going to get noticed. So hopefully the Gold Coast Games we can come back and get some more medals.
Yeah.
So explain to the listeners and to Zeke, who knows nothing about weightlifting, just say the goal is to get gold at the Com Games for yourself. A lot of people like football players and CrossFitters that might be listening are like, geez, I can't focus on something that's 3 weeks out. How do I focus on something that's 2 years away? So how are you going to approach training? Like, do you set mini goals or mile gates or stage gates to get there? Like, what does it look like?
I guess this is working. I guess I've got an idea of what kind of weights I'll need as well.
Yeah.
So I definitely have to get back up to doing my best weights.
Which are?
176 snatch and 222 clean and jerk.
Yeah, I've got you.
Hopefully, it's a while ago I've done those, but I want to try and I'll have to at least do that or even more. And just keeping an eye on, I guess, what the other lifters around the Commonwealth are doing. So, but in terms of setting a goal, like obviously got the big one at the end, and probably we'll plan it out year by year. Yeah. So we'll work with my coach Miles, and we'll work out what competitions we'll lift for through that year, and just keeping track of, I guess, the weights you do in training. So always important to keep a training diary, so you can flick back and kind of look at similar times of another build-up. If you're building to a competition, you can look back at what weight you're doing now compared to then, and gives you an idea of hopefully where you're going in the right direction. So
do you break the competitions down into weeks? Do you select them in a particular timing of a schedule? Like, what does the schedule look like, and how do you determine if two comps are too close together or too far apart? Like, what's your rationale for that?
I guess we'll be trying to pick around the qualifying as well. So I guess we don't know the exact qualifying criteria for the games, but I'm assuming it'll be the international events and national events for next year. So it'll be picking those ones, and they're the ones you want to peak for, and then basically counting back. So generally, I think now I'm onto it. I've been using a 10-week program. In the past, might be 12 or even 14. So basically, we count back and we'll know what week I should be on for that week, and then we'll set that out, and I guess we'll count back and see if there's any gaps between when I should be doing that program, and during that time I might be focusing on extending, I guess, we might extend the first 4 weeks of the program, so we might repeat that, as opposed to just doing 10, 10, 10, 10. So we might extend certain periods of the program to extend it out to the time frame. I guess it'll be just doing that, so we know. I guess once the calendar's out, we'll know what week we should be on for the time, and then we'll tweak the program around a little bit. So it's not set in stone. Like with Miles and I tweaking a little bit the last month or so, same as beginning this year. Nothing major, but it's kind of, I guess, like a working document. But we've still got the base is still there. We're tweaking a couple of exercises here and there, or even trialing where we have our lighter weeks and that type of stuff. That's
definitely the way. Having never coached anyone to a gold medal, that's definitely the way to go, because the human body is not a machine. It's got multiple inputs and outputs. So if you have to stick doggedly to a plan, the plan's probably not going to work. Like, you have to be able to change and flow with how you're feeling.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And that's I've probably done that more the last few years, is definitely listen to the body. So it's the king, it knows what it's doing. So in terms of recovery and that type of stuff. So, we got, as I was saying before, like generally for us, it's like Tuesday, Friday, Saturdays, our heavy sessions. And you come in those days and you're not feeling it. So, there's no point of pushing it. So that's when the injuries and then even the confidence can drop after that. So it's about just trying to be smart, and then they said doesn't have to be exactly to the T that you planned out. So having that bit of flexibility in there can really help.
Oh, music to my ears. I love it. All my athletes think I'm a bludger and being lazy because I ask them how they feel all the time. They think I make up on the spot, but it's all these factors that you have to take into account. A bit. Might be hungover and have to delay something. Without giving away all your trade secrets, could you give us like a rough outline of what your typical, like a light session and what a heavy session sort of looks like? Yeah,
it'd just be, I guess between the light and the heavies will be, depending where we are in the program. What will change is obviously the percentages and reps. So I guess at the moment where I am, like a medium day would be, I think we'd do about 3 sets of 3 on 80%. So for our technical exercise or something like that. And days I might even hit 80%. Might be like 75.
And what would you call a technical exercise?
Snatch and clean and jerk, or power, snatch and power. So basically any variation of the snatch and clean and jerk will be technical, and pretty much everything else is strength. So we'll have on the program broken up, we'll have our percentages for our technical exercises, percentages and reps for our strength, and then we're either medium or heavy. So they're all different as well. So that's how it's kind of structured. So there might be some days where it will be a lighter day, but we might have one heavy set of pulls, something like that as well. Then there'll be a day where pretty much every exercise we do is heavy. The next day, generally at the moment, Wednesday's a bit lighter. Then Thursdays are about the same, and then Friday, Saturdays are heavy. So that's probably the most consistent thing is the Friday, Saturdays. I think it's pretty traditional in weightlifting that Fridays is the heavy.
It seems like that's the common style.
We'll do most of the time. For me, it's been heavy technical on a Friday, so snatch and clean and jerk or variation of that, and then Saturday's heavy strength. So kind of those 2 days are separated out. So it's hard to back up sometimes, but you just got to push through it. You get Sunday off, and a bit lighter Monday, and back again on Tuesday.
Yeah, awesome. Do you throw any sort of cardio conditioning in at all?
No. But I'll always do 5 minutes on the rower or bike at the start.
Oh no, that counts. That's my cardio right there.
So I've always, especially now, getting a bit older. So this year I've worked. This year and last year, I guess since Glasgow as well. I had a torn quad. So in the build up to that. So that was, I got through that and got enough time to get something decent in for the games. But with that, after that, I worked with my physio, trying to work out best ways to, because I had a couple of soft tissue injuries in the last few years. So we're trying to work out how to kind of negate that a bit. And so we worked out a good, I guess, he's always giving me exercises to do. Got piles of sheets in my car of all these rehab exercises. So what I've done this year is basically turn that into my warm-up.
Yeah, nice. Yeah.
So I'll do my 5 minutes on the bike, a rower, and then run through doing like single leg glute bridges, banded walks, like monster walks, crab walks, some lunges, just body weight lunges, a bit of adductor band work, stuff like that. And so it takes me about a solid 20, 30 minutes of just moving around. And I find that's really helped this year. And just listening to the body as well. So the days that, as I said before, might be going heavy, not feeling it, we're feeling a bit tight. So instead of doing a full snatch, we'll do a power snatch.
Yep.
Or the back's a little bit sore, so I might go off the block instead of from the floor.
Yep.
So just having those little variations as well, that way you can kind of keep moving, but still giving a chance for your body to have a rest.
Yeah, awesome.
Awesome. So, I mean, a lot of our listeners are CrossFitters, so they're probably listening to...
Taking notes.
Taking notes, of course, because of the numbers that you said a bit earlier, probably shocked a few people. So I guess that what you just ran us through was probably very, very foreign to a CrossFit athlete. You're a finely tuned specialist athlete. So Zeke and I were actually talking this morning, and we were having a laugh because he said he has a lot of dumb questions for you because he...
It's never a dumb question.
just dumb people asking.
Well, I did the transition over to weightlifting, as you know. Zeke is an exceptional weightlifter, but in the sport of CrossFit. So he knows nothing about the sport of weightlifting. So I believe Zeke has got a few dumb questions to throw your way.
They're all good.
And I think it goes well off the back of what you just said about your typical training day and how that would differ from someone like Zeke who trains for the sport of fitness but does weightlifting for that.
Yeah.
So it is a very different thing. Very, very different. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the first time I met Miles, I was down at Bounce with Regan and Andy, and we were lifting, and I snatched, I think it was 100 kilos, and I missed it, and I just grabbed the bar, reset, and snatched it. And he pissed himself laughing. He's like, "Oh, I guess you do CrossFit," and I was like, "Oh yeah." And I wasn't sure. I was a bit kind of, I don't know, I suppose hesitant to keep lifting because I was like, "Oh, all these guys are weightlifters," and I found it really interesting. I suppose the transfer where you think in CrossFit, I think I weightlift, but really I don't think I do. When I watch you guys and how you guys train, and like watching Pip recently, how she trained and stuff for weightlifting was completely different to what I do. So that was really interesting. And I was talking to Pip today, and I was like, "Oh, I don't even feel like I do weightlifting now." Like when you really look into it, so it's pretty cool. And I know a lot of CrossFitters probably be the same. And have no idea, like, I miss a lift and I'll just reset and go. There's no 4-minute rest or 5-minute rest fully recovered.
I guess it's just a different what you're training for, though. Yeah. So for CrossFit, that's if you're going to a competition, that's most of the time what you're going to do. So you're going to have either the snatches, it's going to be a heavy snatch, or it's going to be some kind of ladder, and you get that multiple attempts. So I guess for weightlifting, we're training for our competition where it's just one lift at a time and 6 lifts. So we're trying to be really consistent, so we're hitting our 90, 95, 99, 100%. We want to make sure we can get that every time. So we don't, that's why I guess we train that a little bit different, probably a little bit higher intensity, that we're trying to refine it, so we're confident that we can hit it and we don't want to miss it and have multiple chances. So
how often would you kind of lift at 100%? So I know you have your Friday, Saturday is your heavy day.
Yeah.
But is that more at kind of that 95% range, or are you going 100% on those days? Considering if you're feeling good or not.
It will depend on where we are in the program. So generally, a rule of thumb, further away you are for competition, the higher volume we're doing. So higher volume for us is sets of 3 for the technical exercises, and maybe sets of 5 and 7 for the strength. So for, like say, a Friday heavy session or a heavy session during that period, we'll be, I guess, going as hard as we can, but for the 3 reps. So maybe trying to find a max triple or the max a triple around 85% should be tough.
Yeah.
So we'll kind of try and hit that. We'll say our program might be 4 sets of 3 at 85%.
Okay.
So we'll try and hit that, and then, as I said before, if we're feeling a bit flat, drop it down and try and actually, because 80% won't feel heavy that day.
Yeah. 100%.
So trying to get that consistency in the reps, and don't want to, as Miles always said, you don't want to practice missing.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure we're getting it. So, but that day, I don't know, we might hit 90% for a triple if you're feeling really good.
Yeah.
So we'll push it. So, but so judging by how it feels, so we'll be pushing in as hard as we can. So as I said, we might try and find a PB triple. Cool. I guess for that exercise will be 100% for reps of 3. But in terms of a 1RM, it might be around that kind of 80 to 90%.
Yeah, 100%.
And that will be vary throughout the program. So generally early on will be the triples, then we'll get into the doubles, triples and doubles, and then doubles and singles. So I know some of my heavy sessions towards closer to a competition might be 6 singles, 90% and above. So that's when we're trying to really hone that technique as well. So those days you might 90%, you mightn't even get it, but those days as well, that's when you might go for a 1 rep. They're probably 2, 3, 4 weeks out from a competition.
Yeah.
And so between the kind of heavy singles and the heavy triples, there's a bit of a mix in between. So we're trying to push, I guess, whatever rep range we're doing, we're trying to find the best we can for that day.
Yeah, 100%.
We're trying to do the heavy.
Just so you do get a hold of an average CrossFitter, say like Zeke. Well, how would you like to take a CrossFitter and still keep them in CrossFit, but develop their weightlifting? How would you like to see that happen?
I would think just by doing more weightlifting, so I guess put it simply.
Yeah.
And depending on their technique as well. So if you want to, depends short or long term. So if we're looking long term, if their technique's relatively sound, they'll be trying to work on strength or even variations of the lift. So I think with weightlifting training, you could probably easily do 3 days a week in CrossFit, as well as doing, I think, your other exercises as well. So obviously you're going to get stronger, develop power, you're going to keep good mobility by doing weightlifting, which will help, I think, with a lot of other exercises. But then there's other days, obviously training your more technical skills, like your gymnastics, and then I guess your metcons. I picked that up.
Just threw that one in there.
Yeah. So and depending, I guess, as well, like now there's probably a bit of a season for CrossFit as well.
Yep.
So with you, obviously, you got your open and then the games time. So obviously, you can look at that and probably, I guess, what I've seen is most CrossFitters want to do weightlifting now, like before the open. Then they all get scared and want to get their fitness up, so they'll drop the weightlifting and increase.
They're the ones that actually don't go to the games.
So it's about, I guess, trying to balance it. So I think you can maintain still, I guess, a lifting program, and depending on what you're trying to get from the other types of CrossFit training around that, so you could match the type of, I guess, intensity and rep ranges and exercises in the weightlifting program to help complement those as well. So obviously you don't want to be doing heavy doubles and singles and then going for a 5K run or something like that.
Yeah.
So be working that in. But I think for weightlifting, it's something that you need to keep doing because there's a certain rhythm to it, I think. So if you can keep practicing, as I said, 3 days a week is a pretty good base. You can do more the better, but 2, you can get away with 2, I think, but 2 to 3 days and just practicing the lifts all the time. Even, as I said, like, it might be a bit different. So I think most CrossFitters will probably want to tend to go heavy. They're doing a lifting session, will be heavy for that day, or spend half an hour trying to do a snatch. As opposed to, I guess, doing a more traditional weightlifting program where we'll have 4 sets of 2. A certain percentage will hit that and move on. Yeah. So probably that type of training can help as well, I think. So trying to just minimise, I guess, the effort and trying to refine the movement so that we're getting confident with it, as well as not taking too much out of you for your other stuff.
Yeah. So you're talking about maximising effort, not just doing silly volume. How dare you say that? Like, CrossFitters listening.
I've never done
vomiting,
CrossFit. I've never done CrossFit before. But just looking from the outside, I'll always promote weightlifting and push for it. But that way, because I guess now I do coaching at the Brisbane Barbell and get a lot of people that do both, a bit of CrossFit and weightlifting, and trying to work with them to squeeze it in.
Well, with that, what do you think would be the most common error you see CrossFitters doing in regards to weightlifting? What would be the glaring obvious mistake?
Not doing it, pretty much, or just being sporadic with it. So I guess that's CrossFit as well. Like you do that big variety. Yeah. So I guess it's they can do more of it and get consistent with the technique. So I sort of found people. Most of them I'll do. There's like the members, just the CrossFitters that want to do a little bit of extra weightlifting, and a lot of them will find it helps with their WODs.
Do you see a common technique error?
Arms, use early arm bend, yeah. So that, and depending as well the pull. So I think because most people have done squatting and deadlifting first before lifting. So I think I've noticed a lot is the deadlift lockout.
Yeah.
So a lot more hips rather than trying to get a lot more extension in the pull. Just purely because they're used to that. They're used to locking out the hips, pushing hips forward, putting the shoulders back.
Yeah.
As opposed to weightlifting, where we're trying to get very similar movement, but we're trying to get the bar moving up. So we're trying to use our quads and glutes more, get more vertical movement on the bar as opposed to locking out the hips. So what that does is then swings the bar out.
We find that a lot. Like that's our common the reason that I'm losing hair is because they watch lifting from front on and think the bar's crashing to the hips and moving forward and around and then down on them. But then when they watch it side on, the bar's going almost sheer vertical.
Yeah.
And they learn from TV or YouTube.
Yeah, it doesn't help. There's a lot of information out there as well now.
Yeah.
There's a lot more freely available and obviously different opinions as well, how to lift and what to do. But as I said, it's for me, I still think when I lift, it's the two things: is keeping it close and getting extension. That's pretty much weightlifting. And that's all I say to them is if another thing would be overthinking. As well. So another thing I say to the lifters is I only can concentrate on maybe two things at once. So trying to pick out what we need to work on and just concentrate on those. Otherwise, if you're overthinking, then nothing really works together.
Yeah.
As well, and just trying to break it down. So not just trying to go, if we're going to learn the snatch, we're not going to go snatch from the floor straight away. I'll teach from the top down.
Yeah.
Start off by doing powers and at the same time doing overhead squats, front squats, and pulls from the floor, so you kind of break it out a bit more at the start.
Yeah.
Obviously, depending on the level of the athlete. So that way you can kind of get a better approach, I think, in terms of you can focus on smaller bits rather than if we put it all together at once, it's pretty hard to do, especially if they've kind of just done a little bit of lifting and WODs. So they're not exposed to, I guess, some of the finer details or even doing some heavier lifts.
Well, they might not even have the time. They just want to get their sweat on.
Yeah.
It's just let me do these 100 cleaning jerks, man. Get them away.
Sounds just 2 weeks worth of training.
So I see that you're wearing some Boss Fit shorts. So you obviously have some sort of involvement in the CrossFit community in Brisbane. So how are you involved in CrossFit? Are you coaching in a CrossFit gym? Yeah,
so I coach at the Brisbane Barbell Club, which is part of CrossFit Torian. So we are, I guess, it's the same place. So we've got our platforms at the back and it's a big space at the front. So I've been there, I've been just over 2 years now. And then, so I guess I've been exposed to a lot more CrossFit in the last 2 years than I have. And I do a few workshops here and there when I can squeeze them in around training. But it's been good to be able to do some regular coaching as well at the Barbell Club and developing athletes through there. So it's been a pretty good, I guess, pretty good box, so they say.
You've thrown
at Torian.
You've thrown a few box.
No, the guys at Torian are really good. So they did well this year. They got the team to the regionals and then to the games. So that was pretty good to see them do that. And it's getting pretty busy now.
Pretty amazing facility too.
Yeah.
Been there once before and it was just massive.
Yeah, the photos, they look big in the photos and it's even bigger when you walk in. So it's been, it's good the last, we're getting really busy. So it's pretty full, some of the classes, especially in the evenings, and even probably the biggest class is around the 5 a.m. some days. It's
that's crazy.
A lot of people, because I mainly coach in the evenings, but I do one morning session a week as well.
Yeah.
Sometimes the 5 and 6 a.m. classes are the biggest.
Too early to lift weights, I think.
I can't even coach at that time.
So they're pretty lucky to have you then, like dual Olympian, and they must be doing really well with their weightlifting. But most of your weightlifting is done here at Cougars with Miles then?
Yeah, so I'm kind of because I coach a few evenings a week at the barbell, so I guess it's traditionally when weightlifters train. So I'm kind of all over the place at the time. So I'll do my main sessions still here at Cougars with Miles, and then my other sessions will be, I might do them at the Barbell Club before I guess I start. Also the Queensland Academy of Sport. So I've been fortunate enough to get the individual scholarship for the last few years there, and that gives us money, which is really good. I can live and pay my mortgage, but we can use our gym as well. It's a pretty good gym. And a good recovery centre, and it's only 10 minutes from my house, which is a bonus. So I'll kind of split between three 3 places at the moment. But yeah, my big heavy sessions are out here with Miles.
Yeah, awesome. And the Queensland Academy of Sport, so you were saying to us when we walked in earlier that you were doing a few different tests with them. One of them was squatting in heat.
Yes.
Can you please tell us about that?
So they approached us, they're looking for some lifters last year, or I can't remember, it was earlier this year. We were testing a guy doing his PhD, Jared, about the response to heat and it's hormonal responses. And so we did a bunch of tests last year. I think there was about 10 or 15 of us that squatted in the heat chamber over 4 weeks, just once a week. I measured our hormonal response, and then just general questions of how we stress, physical stress, mental stress, measured our speed and depth on the bars, that kind of thing. So then he said he got some good results in that, and then it's been offering for me to do it again. So at the moment, this week I just started. I'm going to do my squatting sessions in the chamber. So it's like I guess it's kind of like a big cool room, but it's hot. So we're squatting at 35 degrees, and not sure what the humidity is. We're playing around with that, but it's pretty humid.
And just to give our listeners a bit of an idea, how much weight are you squatting roughly?
Today, what did I do today? I worked up to 230 kilos for triple back squats. So
yeah,
still working up to my best, but the squats are starting to come back. So at the moment, I'm doing triples for my squats. Worked up to 230 back squat today, and then doing 210 triple front squats on Tuesday. But no, so far the chamber's worked well. So we're not in the chamber the whole time. We're only in there during, I guess, our working sets, and then we pop out of the chamber into a normal room. It's about 24 degrees. So.
I was going to say, spending a whole session
in
a 35-degree chamber while you've got 230 kilos on your back, that'd be
it's not too bad. It's good. It's not too bad for my mobility. So got some bit of bulk around my hips, so it helps me move, get a little bit deeper. And I'm glad I'm doing triples at the moment, not 5s or 7s. So it'd be pretty hard in the chamber for that. So probably only in there for a minute or 2 maximum. But I found it's something a bit different. We'll see how it goes over the next month.
Yeah, awesome.
Is that the craziest training stimulus or thing you've been involved with? Is it what would be the craziest exercise you've ever done, and what do you think is the most overrated exercise for weightlifting?
Craziest exercise. I did Grace once.
At what
that was
weight?
pretty good. 60 kilos.
60
I did the RSD. There you
like
go.
30, was it 30 seconds? Did it take you 30 seconds?
I think I got a minute 50 something.
Yeah, it's solid.
That's pretty solid for it. How much do you weigh, Damon?
About 147, I think, at the moment. That was a few years ago.
Sub 2 minutes. That's impressive.
So I felt it more in my forearms the most. I think it was reverse curling.
Yeah.
So at the time, it's about under 30% of what I ran. So it was more the movement. So that was probably one of the craziest ones I've done. But that wasn't really, I guess, in terms of trying to get stimulus for weightlifting. It was just giving it a go.
Yeah.
And then I guess some of the craziest ones, I guess some of the complexes out there I've seen on YouTube and Instagram for weightlifting. So yeah, the complexes have their place, but they probably want to get some of the other fundamentals right before trying them. So it's, I think, just trying to not go too crazy with those. And just,
do you think CrossFit's made them more kind of, I suppose, like more known, the complexes? Like I see a lot of CrossFit guys now, and they're throwing all these big weights around, doing, like hang power clean, squat clean, like 10 different movements in one complex. Do you think it's evolved from CrossFit, or were they always there in weightlifting?
We've always had a couple of complexes, but nothing, probably maybe 3 kind of movements in one.
Yeah.
So doing, maybe a couple from hanging from the floor, or doing like a clean 2 front squat and then a jerk.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So they're kind of based around to work on different aspects of the lift.
Yeah.
But I think it was just maybe a little bit of CrossFit, but like also just Instagram and YouTube, getting it out there a bit more, so people are seeing it more. And
the big boys club who can bench press the most kind of thing.
The
complex are the heaviest weight now.
Yeah. So and that's it. So you just people see it and try, and like don't have to be from a weightlifting or CrossFit background. There's a lot of people out there. A lot of commercial gyms now have the bumpers and platforms, and so people just see it and will give it a go. So I think it's pretty entertaining. I guess some of them are pretty funny. But people, like in terms of the effect on training, I'm not sure how much it's going to help.
You see a lot of like the one-arm snatches with the barbell and stuff now these days, guys. I've seen Klokov's done it once before, but obviously it's evolved on the YouTube, and all these guys are like odd weights, like 20 kilo plate on one side and a 15 kilo on the other side. And myself and Regan were having a bit of a laugh about it, all these guys on YouTube calling people out. Take up the challenge. And
I think the one-arm snatch has always been around in weightlifting.
Yeah.
I've done it a few times. I think it used to be a lift.
Really?
When it was first in the games, like in the early 1900s.
I think that's right.
Yeah. We used to have about 6 lifts.
What about the odd weights on either side?
I've done it by accident. You forget to put the weight on one side, but never on purpose. But
my personal favourite is a reason. I don't know I think it's Hunter Fitness. I think that's his Instagram name, but he's got, I don't know how much weight's on the bar, but he's holding it over his head in a snatch, and he's in the splits with a foot on 2 chairs. And that's probably the most extreme one I've seen recently.
Yeah.
I think that there's a line in the sand now, and he's way over on one side by himself.
Yeah, I won't be trying that one.
Yeah.
Tearing something.
What would be your favourite accessory movement or supplemental movement for weightlifting? So just say there's guys listening out there and they snatch and they clean and jerk and they follow all the progressions and all that sort of stuff. What else should they be doing? Obviously, the squat is the king of everything. What would something be? What's the next best accessory movement outside of a squat?
Pull.
A pull?
Yeah. So even a shrug. So I'll do shrugs, which is pretty much a mid-thigh pull, how I do them. So it's not just isolating the traps, but it's trying to develop that last bit of power and push from the legs.
Yeah.
So which is, I think that's pretty important, because it's the pull that gets the lift. So that gives us the speed, gives us the time to get underneath the bar. So working on that part of the lift is really good. And what I've done, I think just getting stronger at the knee height position. So developing back, glutes and hamstrings. So even by just doing we'll do RDLs or halting deadlifts. So we'll come up and pause at the knee.
Yeah. I was going to ask if you did any isometric work, because that seems to be in vogue at the moment.
Yeah, I guess we've always, as long as I remember, we've done Romanian deadlifts.
Yeah. Oh, it's only in vogue because people who have Instagram just discovered it. But people have
we've always done those pretty slow as well. And we've just done them from kind of mid-shin to mid-thigh. So we won't go all the way down.
Yeah.
But that's a really good exercise, because I think the knee height position is pretty much where we launch all the power from. So you want to be strong in that position. So that really helps the RDL or the halting deadlift, and as well as doing the shrugs. And then trying to think what else. And just assistance would be just any kind of back work, like give yourself a break other than doing everything barbell. So kind of some seated rows or bent over rows or single arm dumbbell rows, that kind of stuff as well. So it's always good to try what we term bodybuilding. Yeah. We'll always, anything that doesn't involve weightlifting, we'll call bodybuilding. So I think it's good for the brain as well to do something a little bit different.
We incorporate that into our training, because when Pip first transitioned from CrossFit, she had this go-hung attitude where if I'm not doing 1,000 reps a session, I'm not progressing. So it took a while to beat quality instead of quantity into her head. But also, you mentioned the shrug. Like, her ability to shrug has coincided with her total increasing. When she first started doing weightlifting, she didn't have the coordination to just isolate the shrug portion of the lift. So yeah, obviously you know what you're talking about, and from our end we can corroborate it.
Good.
like it means anything, don't
it? I have to bring it up because you've obviously been around weightlifting the sport for such a long time. So obviously with Rio this year, there's been a lot of athletes who have gone positive, and from the last couple of Olympics, 2 of which you were at. Where do you think that's going to be taking the sport in the next few years, especially in the lead up to Gold Coast 2018? That obviously affects where you stand as an athlete who does have the capabilities of winning medals at these big meets. So what do you think about this?
I think it's good that they're getting them.
Yeah.
It's pretty much, it's been around for 30 years.
Yeah.
I guess as a lifter, you've been seeing it and you've done the training, you know what work goes in, and you hear the stories, and so you pretty much assume that they were doing it, and now I guess you're getting confirmation that the lifters were. So it's ever since the 80s, we had the Bulgarians in Seoul, pretty much the whole team got done. And it's still similar now with some of the countries. So it's good and bad. So it's good that they're getting caught, but it's bad for the sport. So we've always kind of known that it's there. I think generally in the Commonwealth, everyone's on the same mindset. I guess Nigeria and India have had a lot of positives over the last probably 3 or 4 Commonwealth Games, but other than that, majority of the countries everyone's focused on the same thing. It would be that kind of that world level where I guess you've kind of seen it in cycling where it's part of the sport. So that's why some of the teams will. So as I said, when Lance Armstrong came out, like if you wanted to cycle professionally, then you had to take it. So that's how I think some of the countries see it, is just as part of the sport. So I think it's interesting that I guess the substances they're taking as well are the same. Apart from a few different ones, I guess the Chinese have been caught as well. So that they've never really had positives before, but a lot of the other countries have always had positives over the years. I think the last 3 or 4 years, like Kazakhstan, Iran, Russia, they've all over 20 positives at international events. So it's good that it's bringing it up.
As someone who, like, how do you maintain motivation knowing that you might walk into a competition and knowing that someone's cheating? How do you stay driven and focused on your goals?
Well, I guess it's still a test on yourself. Like, obviously, it'd be good to be world champion or Olympic champion, but I know that's not going to happen. So you're still training to get. I still want to crack a 400 total, so I'm still training for that. So having good competition and working on that. So that doesn't. I guess that's my motivation. I guess you go through phases. And now I'm probably experienced enough to know that most of them are doping at the top and that kind of thing. So now I just know it's kind of my motivation is just trying to get myself into the best way. So if that's good enough to get a higher placing at a World Championships, then that's good enough. But they said, like what they say, like they're not affecting my training or my lifting. So it's still up to you to perform and train. And then if you could, manage to get a bit higher up, then that's pretty good. But if not, you understand why. But with it as well, I think what they did in the 90s was they changed the bodyweight classes. So they changed it twice to basically wipe out the old records.
Oh, right.
So 98 was the last bodyweight class change. I think they changed it as well for the introduction of women into the Olympics. So it reduced it. Men used to have 10 categories and it reduced to 8. And the women had 7. Now for next year it'll be 8 and 8, which will be good.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a good opportunity now to do the same thing. So they're introducing an extra weight class for the women, having 8 for the women, 8 for the men, and I think it's a good time then to change the body weights, as well as the doping, but as well as I think the lifters are evolving. So I think we need to shift everything heavier.
Yeah.
So even looking at Australia, like we don't have many in the lighter categories.
Yeah.
So I think that's a sign of, I guess, as I say, the generations will get bigger and bigger. So I think it's a good time to hopefully they'll look at it and shift everything up a few kilos as well. So that would be good. And then I guess in terms of the doping, they've got everything in place to stop it. They've just got to use it.
Yeah.
So they've got the whereabouts that
other
countries don't use and they don't test and they don't get out of competition testing, and they allow lifters that have been banned. There was a Kazakhstan lifter that was banned until like a week before the World Championships, but he was still allowed to lift. He was still allowed to be entered while he was banned. So stuff like that. So if they wanted to, they could really tighten it up and come down on it. And I think now with all the positives, they always threaten that we'll get kicked out of the Olympics. So hopefully with all the realisation of the people at the top, that it's probably a really big possibility. And that they should take the time, and I think it's getting more momentum behind it from a lot of other countries now to push for a cleaner sport. They've always done it. There's always been the WADA poster, WADA stall at the World Championships, stuff like that. But they actually need to do something about it to stop it.
Yeah, and it's not just weightlifting. It's just popular in recent, because of Rio, but like track and field's had more positives than any sport. Track and field never gets threatened.
I think it's just part of it. As we go back to those stereotypes, it's
that's it.
Weightlifting. So
Yeah.
I guess if you're going to take any or do doping, you're probably going to get most bang for your buck from a weightlifter. So
Yeah.
that's probably why we cop it a lot. But as you've seen with Cronulla and Essendon as well, a lot of other sports. The cycling over the years, it's just that I think it's out there in pretty much every elite sport.
Yeah, and every elite sport, like the whole Cronulla thing, like that really ticks me off because if you're a 14-year-old gymnast taking too many cold and flu tablets, that's a 2-year ban, but Cronulla still gets to stay and play in the comp. Like, it's insane.
3 months. Was it?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's stupid. Yeah. Anyway, that's another podcast. Yeah. Do you guys got anything else? I just want to finish up with the last question. How, Damon, just say you're in charge of AWF. How do you, what steps would you place or put in place to develop weightlifting in Australia to make it the number one sport? What would you do?
Good question. I think it comes down to, as we said
you got a
before,
blank checkbook.
Yeah.
Whatever you want.
Blank checkbook. I think it's been trying to get it into schools and probably even just like marketing, if you could just advertise it and explain, I don't know, some kind of campaign that says it's a fun, safe sport that we all know because we're doing it. And, but a lot of people out there don't know what it is, or they only see it on TV every 2 to 4 years. So be somehow trying to make it more in the public eye. So if we had like a blank checkbook, it'd be great to host like a World Championships or something like that. That could potentially kickstart it. Or even host getting the sport on TV. I know that costs a lot of money. But yeah, we just got to get it out there because people do enjoy watching it. Like, you always get positive feedback of any kind of close tussle or competition that they really enjoy it. So we just got to make it more well known. And then from that, I see the more people know about it, then hopefully the more people want to do it. And then just continuing with, I guess, coach education as well. So good coach education programs in place now. So obviously that's how we're going to get more clubs and more gyms doing it, is by training the coaches to do it. So it's something that, with weightlifting, you need to have a pretty solid coach to get started, I think. So that's probably the hardest part. I think you always can find people willing to do it. You're trying to get someone that can help guide people. It's probably at the moment, the way I think of it is, this is probably the most amount of time people have had access to the equipment, at least, to do weightlifting. As I said, you've got all the CrossFit facilities. A lot of commercial gyms now have bumpers and platforms, and even more, I guess, weightlifting clubs popping up as well. So it's easier for people to try it. We just got to try and get them structured to get them to try it, I think. And then that way, I think we get more people doing it, and hopefully we'll get the talent as well. So just making it an attractive option for boys and girls to do it. So I think we've had a lot of ex-gymnasts who are gymnasts. So we've had, like, Eric was a former gymnast as well. So there's sports like that can get really good crossovers. And I look at the footy on the weekend, think how many bloody wingers would be a fantastic weightlifter.
Not so much me, but the other ones.
But currently you've got guys 90 to 100 kilos that can run 110, 11 seconds, around that 11 second mark. So there'd be probably kids out there doing that the same. So it's just, if they kind of don't make it there's another option there for another power-based sport. So
I think to add on to that, all those points are obviously right because I agree with them. But there's a guy in university in the States, and he takes all the footballers that wash out of their university team, and because they're all beasts, and now he's made one of the top 5 successful Olympic lifting clubs for this university because he's taken all the footballers and turned them into weightlifters. So obviously they can shift in, and then he's taught them how to do it properly. A bit more refined. So I can see that working here.
So that's, I think, the big plus with America. They got a much better development system, I think, for sport.
Well, they're not
from high school to college. Obviously, there's only 2 or 3% of college football go to NFL.
I think it's 0.3.
So it's pretty low. So you've got a lot of talented athletes out there. As well. So if you can just make an attractive option for people to try, that's probably the biggest step, and that's probably the biggest hurdle. And then I think in terms of developing high performance, I think that can come. So we've got some pretty, I think, talented coaches around Australia that can help guide it. But I think you've got to get that talent in there as well. And that will create competition as well. If we had a bit more competition, so if there was another 5 super heavyweights doing the same weights as me, then that's going to help drive the high performance up as well.
Well, I'm eating for it. I'm slowly putting weight on. We'll see.
The clean jack up there a bit more.
Yeah, no chance. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's bringing weightlifting to the people and not waiting for the people to come to weightlifting. I think, like, obviously, as you said, there's all these CrossFit gyms everywhere, you know, with the equipment and people who want to do it. And we do see a lot of CrossFit athletes do the odd competition, maybe like once a year, but they're not actually registered lifters with the AWF, and they'll do their one comp maybe before the Open, and then that's it. They won't do anything else. There has to be some way to get them interested and keep interested. Doesn't mean that they have to aim for the Commonwealth Games necessarily or aim for anything big. It's just getting them into it and spreading the word.
Yeah, that's it. And I think the competition's the fun part. Like,
exactly, yeah.
That's why I still do it. Like, training sucks.
Exactly. I agree.
But the competition's the fun part. Like, nothing better than either, you know, go for the win or you get the weights that you want to get. There's no better feeling. So that's why I always try and encourage the guys at the barbell club just to lift. So we host club competitions, so they're pretty low key at the club. So it's not as daunting as going out to another venue and lifting in front of, I guess, different people. So having little clubs like that club competitions that can be a stepping stone as well.
Yeah.
Like, to try and encourage them, and then, as I said, like, you don't have to. You have to be elite to do weightlifting. Like, it's pretty fun to go in and compete, and then even to test yourself out. Like, it's
definitely
you train for something, so you may as well test it out.
Definitely, and I think that's where I know with females, that is probably one of the biggest things as a confidence thing. Is girls just think that they're not strong enough to go and put a weight over their head on the platform, but that's not the point at all. Like,
the same with guys.
Speaking for girls everywhere. Like, there's some great talent out there amongst. Yeah. I mean, I'm speaking of CrossFit because that's obviously a bigger audience, but there is a lot of talent out there, and I think it's maybe keeping it within the CrossFit gyms themselves, starting out that way, so it's not as daunting and as scary.
Yeah,
and then getting a bit of a taste for it, and then going from there.
Yeah, and then because I know, like, in Queensland we have a few different competitions. I have the league round, which is kind of based on points, and you get bonus points for getting 6 out of 6. Like, it's still an official competition. We just use the results from it to form some kind of point scoring system, and there's a final. You can win a little bit of money at the end of the year, but that kind of promotes to continually getting PBs and trying to get 6 out of 6 lifts, and then also encouraging people, you know, that of the standard to, if they qualify for a state championships, enter. So.
Definitely.
And then if they, you know, there's probably heaps of people out there that can get the national championships qualifying as well. So it's encouraging them to give it a go and get involved and just see, even just having a look at it as well. So any competition, go down and have a look. And so I guess it's pretty daunting first up, but you learn to love it.
Yeah, I mean, and I guess a lot of people don't actually get online and have a look at the numbers being thrown around and stuff like that. Like, they just assume it's way out of their reach. And then it's not until they actually maybe look at the numbers and look at the placings and go, oh, well, actually, with the numbers I do in my gym, I could actually do okay. So
don't worry about bodyweight snatches. That's a lot of people's, I can't even snatch bodyweights, so it doesn't matter. I can hardly do it. But as well, just getting the idea out of your head that you have to, first comp, you don't have to come in and break records. It's just having fun. So it's just something different as well, out of the comfort zone. But I would encourage everyone to just look into it, and even having practice comps in your gym, you can do that as well. That's another good one. Maybe the week before a competition, if you're going to enter one, have a little practice comp, and that can help. And try and encourage a few of you to come together and do it. So it's a bit easier to do it with a couple of friends as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Mate, thanks for your time today.
That's all right.
Absolute pleasure. Just real quickly, I just got an idea and I'm going to throw Zeke under the bus. Zeke, what's your best snatch?
125.
And what's your best clean and jerk?
157.
What's yours, Damon?
176 snatch, 222 clean and jerk.
Yeah, that's massive.
A little bit bigger than Zeke.
No excuses. No excuses. Mate, if you would be keen, I'd love for us to come together like another day and I'll film you taking Zeke through a training session. Just because I know there's a lot of CrossFitters that numbers sound impressive, but some people get glossed over it, just how impressive those numbers are.
Yeah.
It'd be awesome if we could film it and then you just destroy Zeke in a session. Just so, because Zeke is a games athlete and you're an Olympian. So I'd love for people to see the difference in, because Zeke's, what he does is very impressive, but people getting their eyes open would be awesome. It'd be a great watch.
That would be good.
I'd like to see Zeke in the hot chamber, squatting for his life.
Yeah.
That's pretty fun.
Yeah. Thanks again, mate. Really appreciate it. And thanks for listening, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.